If you're a real fan of basketball, this offseason is going to be the most exciting one, maybe of your entire life. You see, I'm an uncle in my mid-30s, and for as long as I can remember, every year, it felt like there were 2, 3, at most 4 teams that had a real chance of winning the championship. In the 90s, it was the Chicago Bulls. If Michael Jordan was walking on the court, the Bulls were favored to win a title. And sure, some years it might have been the Jazz going up against him. Some years it might have been the Celtics. Some years it might have been the bad boy Pistons. But there was never a sense that 5 teams could really do it. Then in the 2000s, the Lakers and the Spurs were dominant for pretty much the entire decade. Moving into the 2010s, where we saw Steph Curry and LeBron James change what the definition of a modern dynasty is. In fact, SNL made a hilarious skit about how we would be seeing the Warriors and the Cavs in the finals forever. But somewhere over the last 5 years, that's all changed. We've seen different teams in the finals every single year. We haven't even seen the same combination of teams come back, let alone a dynasty or a repeat. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you love basketball. We talk about how cool hoops are here. We're not playing solitaire during the NBA Finals like Stephen A. Smith. I want to tell you why all of this is just the tip of the iceberg, and this offseason could be the most crazy NBA 2K style offseason ever, and it starts with the warning bell that is the Desmond Bane trade. The Orlando Magic give up a haul to trade for the Grizzlies' third best player. And everyone seems to be focusing on the Memphis side of the equation, and they're missing the big key, and that is that the East is wide open. The East is more wide open than your mother after 2 cranberry cocktails. The East is so open it might as well be a Waffle House. It's 24/7 open. Look at the East standings from last year. There's 3 teams that are fully committed to being bad no matter what. It's the Brooklyn Nets, the Washington Wizards, and the Charlotte Hornets. After that, the East feels like it could be literally anyone's game. The Indiana Pacers needed magic, statistical improbability to make a finals run. Even though the Pacers are young and are well constructed with contracts, nobody in the East is saying the Pacers are unbeatable. It took Tyrese Halliburton blowing up in the clutch so much they called him the Halliban, and these memes are hilarious. But Tyrese Halliburton probably doesn't go 8 of 9 on clutch shots next year. And so if you're a general manager, you're going, this is a beatable Pacers team. Looking at the best team in the East last year, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they feel like it's less of a talent issue and more of a roster fit. Look for them to dangle Darius Garland, thinking if they can get a little bit more defense from the guard position, or maybe a little more scoring from their post players, getting rid of a Jarrett Allen. This Cavs team can beat anyone when healthy. The Boston Celtics are interesting because they're going to be sellers. We thought this Celtics team was going to run over everyone on their way to repeat this year, but that probably wasn't going to happen even if Jason Tatum didn't go out with an Achilles. The Celtics having to punt 2026 as championship contenders, letting Jason Tatum rehab, but also shedding salary is one of the key storylines for why the East is so wide open. There's no juggernauts anymore. You see the New York Knicks still sitting here as of the time that I record this without a head coach and with an incredible starting lineup, but not a lot of depth. The Knicks will probably try to trade Karl Anthony Towns or Mikal Bridges. You know they're going to hold on to Brunson, and they have such a value from Josh Hart that it would be hard to see them letting go of him. So we just covered the top 4 teams in the East, and you can see how none of these teams look unbeatable. None of these teams strike fear in the heart of the other general managers. And you can start to see why 12 teams are thinking, hey, why not us? Why not our year? The next team is the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Bucks are like that classic meme from Arrested Development where they're like, oh, after a couple cheats, it never works out for them, but they just delude themselves into thinking it could work. But you know what? Maybe it could work for us. That is exactly what's happening here. The Milwaukee Bucks should be selling, licking their wounds, and retooling because of the Dame Lillard injury, closing their title window. But instead, Giannis has a warped sense of loyalty, and so the Bucks are going to try to do something with Pat Connaughton and Kyle Kuzma's contracts. Look, the Bucks cannot stand Pat. That's not a Connaughton joke. The Bucks cannot stand still. They have to make some kind of move to convince Giannis that they're in contention. If Giannis ever feels like there's a 0% chance that he can win, look for him to get traded, because it's what's best for Giannis, but also what's best for the Bucks. If you're Milwaukee, you can get a god-sized haul. You could get Anthony Davis in a first-round pick if you traded Giannis. No, it's a trap. That's a trick to see if Nico Harrison is a subscriber. If you love ball, like and subscribe. It'll convince me to make more videos. I don't charge you shit. There's no annoying gambling ads. It's a pretty good deal. Okay, so we already know the Bucks are going to be looking to make moves, but the Detroit Pistons are even more interesting. There's only 3 teams that really have roster space this year, and with the Grizzlies having such a pathetically small amount of it after trading Bane, you're really looking at the Brooklyn Nets, who don't want to contend, and the Detroit Pistons, having anywhere between $20 and $30 million. The Pistons already proved with a feisty playoff run that they can be good now, and that Cade Cunningham is the real deal. The Pistons are going, you know what? Why can't we be the next version of the Pacers? If you're the Pistons, you're thinking, why not us? We're young, we're healthy, we have one of the Thompson twins. Like, literally everything that we could need is sitting in front of us, and we're one of the few teams with roster space to actually improve the cap. We're one of the few teams with cap room that could actually improve the roster. And right there at the 7 seed from last year, you have the Orlando Magic, and you start to see what the thought process is. Look, the 4 teams ahead of us, the top 4 seeds, do not look like world beaters. Our 2 stars, Paolo and Franz, are young. They're going to be better next year. Let's add a capable 3-and-D player. And if you're the Magic, you're thinking you can beat anyone in a 7-game series in the East. But I'm not even sure the Magic are done. Speaking of not being done, we're now getting into the tier of teams that are rumored to be talking about Kevin Durant. So I'm talking about the Miami Heat and the Toronto Raptors, having been tied to so many Durant rumors. Look, Durant's going to get moved. What he gets moved for, we don't know, but there's going to be other disgruntled stars, and there's somewhere between 6 and 10 teams in the East that feel like they're one prime player away from a championship run, and it's hard to tell them no when we already saw it work for the Raptors with Kawhi. Could Kevin Durant be the missing piece on this surprisingly deep, surprisingly talented Raptors team that gets them over the hump in a down year? And everyone's like, oh, Kevin Durant's only 37. He's only 37. That doesn't matter if you have a 1-year window. If you know there's going to be 1 year where the Celtics are taking an off year, where the Bucks don't have Dame, this is your all-in moment in the East. The East is wide open, and we've already seen what happens. You just got to get to the finals. This is what the Raptors did. They got to the finals in 2019, and then suddenly the Warriors had broken down from multiple injuries and a long playoff run. If you're a smart general manager, you're going, why not us? Why not now? The Atlanta Hawks have a fantastic core 4 with Trae Young, Risha Shea, Dyson Daniels, and Jalen Johnson. I really like this Hawks team. I know they're the definition of a 50-50 team, but if you're the Hawks general manager, you're looking at this going, we're one move away. You add Kevin Durant to this Hawks team, they can beat anyone in the East. You add Karl Anthony Towns to this Hawks team, they look a lot like the Knicks all of a sudden. Very similar to the Knicks. There's so many teams in the East that are just one piece away. But it's not the Chicago Bulls. Let's be honest. The Chicago Bulls are dumb enough. Their management is dumb enough. Their ownership is dumb enough, especially after just extending their general manager and their coach, to stay absolutely stuck in the middle, to be a permanent play-in team forever. The Bulls should be fully blowing it up. They should be one of the teams, along with the Nets, that's facilitating trades as much as possible. What's crazy is I've talked about 11 teams so far, and I haven't gotten to the team in the East that might be the most all-in for this year. The Philadelphia 76ers still have Joel Embiid on a max contract, and they have Paul, aka Podcast P. George, on their team. I've seen trade rumors in every direction, and the Sixers might be the most exciting team to watch. Do they go all in on one last year for Embiid and say, you know what, we cleaned up his knees, He's only going to be 50 games healthy, but it'll be the right 50 games. We can do what the Clippers did semi-successfully this year and let him stay out the beginning, slowly ramp up. Do the Sixers trade the number 3 pick and Paul George for a win-now player? Maybe somebody as good as Tobias Harris. No, I'm kidding. The Sixers, you fucked yourself up on that. The Sixers have 2 options. Option number 1 is that they admit defeat. They blow this team up, they trade Embiid for whatever they can get, and they build around Tyrese Maxey. Option number 2 is what they're going to do, though, and they're going to go all in, and they're going to try to win with this roster. They're going to try to trade Paul George for something more serviceable, and they're going to try to dangle that number 3 pick to get a team to give them win-now players. That's right. We just went through 12 NBA teams that have a real reason to trade because the East is wide open. Get in the comment section. Tell me what teams you're looking for, what trades you want to see. Tell me who comes out of the East in 2026 because I know you're not going to agree. This is NBA Trash Talk.